2:38 Mike Oliver. From position number 3, car number 5, Peter Brock making his Auscar debut here today for Mobile. From 4, car 16, is Steve Harrington in the Commodore. From position number 5, 9, Terry Sawyer in the Goodyear Commodore. From 6:44, Mal Rose in the Carburettor Service Company Commodore. From position 7, 69, Marshall J. Brewer. From 8, car number 7, Kim Jane. From 9, 39, Mike Freeman. And rounding out the top 10, 27, Alf Grant. Pace car just about ready to pull off the racetrack, and 110 laps of action around the Calder Park Thunderdome ahead in the Goodyear Auscar 200. Green flag, ready to fly. Jimmy Richards holding the pace down as they head down the front straight away. Mike Oliver on the outside. The green about to show. We now have the Goodyear Auscar 200 underway with Jimmy Richards down on the inside. Mike Oliver goes with him. And in fact, Oliver may well have won the jump here as they head down into turn number 1. It's Mike Oliver who goes through to take over the lead from Jimmy Richards. And as they swing onto the back straight, coming up very smartly through there was Steve Harrington, and Peter Brock dropping back through the pack as they work the back chute for the first time.
It looked as though Brock struggled a little through the gears as he went down towards turn 1. Kim Jane, the flyer in the pack. This is Mike Oliver, car number 38, round the outside of Jimmy Richards. Commodore leads Falcon. Very little separating the first 2 cars.
As they go through, Steve Harrington now makes it up into 3rd spot. And leading down the back chute is Mike Oliver, but pulling up alongside of him is Jim Richards as they race up to turn number 3. And Richards this time down on the inside and pushes Oliver up the racetrack. Here it is, side by side as they come off the 4th turn, down through the tri-oval. Jimmy Richards on the inside, and as they go across the line, it's Richards just a nose in front, but Oliver fights back on the outside as they come down to the next turn.
One car runs wide. That may be, in fact, Terry Sawyer.
Yes.
We've lost another car. Brad Jones is involved in that.
There's a prang in the middle of the turn, and that'll bring the yellow flag out.
Well, I tried to take a high line. Mike Freeman was in my side of the quarter panel there and right in my blind spot, and I just didn't see him.
In the meantime, Brad Jones has gone in and out of the pits, a quick stop. They're back to racing now. Richards leads away from Oliver, and Oliver gets up very quickly indeed as Mal Rose shuffles Peter Brock up the racetrack as well, and Oliver makes a big dart right around the outside of Jimmy Richards, about halfway up the racetrack, but Richards will have the line coming off onto the back chute, and they run it out side by side on the back straight. Steve Harrington making a big lunge at them as they work their way down. And look at Harrington to make a move on the inside of Jimmy Richards. Some real hard racing here in Auscar.
Well, Richo's been able to open up just a little bit more of a gap now. This is the battle. Harrington from Tasmania, Kim Jane. Oh, and Jane, I think, just gave him a little tap that time as they went through turn number 1. He's certainly a determined player, Kim Jane. Jim Richards, race leader, the Stillwell Ford entry, car number 6. Fords are 1st and 5th. Jane again getting very close to the back of Oliver's car, and his car in turn became very, very loose. He really drives right on the edge. Now he makes a big run. Oh, bravery.
There wasn't too much Oliver could do about that. He gets a little bit loose coming off turn number 4.
Here comes Brock. He's going to get Harrington as well, just behind these guys. What a scrap. A big one for 2nd and 3rd, an even bigger one for 4th and 5th as Brock goes through in the Mobile Falcon.
Down the back straight, Oliver comes hounding back on the inside now of Kim Jane and will take back 2nd away from Jane. Peter Brock, meantime, is in here starting to get the feel of what Auscar racing is all about. You can't hang back. You've got to go with it. Here they are coming off 4, very loose, all 4 cars. Brock now down the inside, making a big run here on Kim Jane, and will probably get him before the next turn. That'll shift Jane up the racetrack just one more slot. No, Jane catches sight of the White Falcon and will fight all the way to retain that position as they work their way now onto the back straight. But the long legs of the Henry starts to work as the Mobile Falcon comes up on the inside of Jane. And for this moment, will take over the lead. But watch Jane, or took over 3rd, I should say. Jane, I thought, may have made a run back around the outside, but he was in no position to do that. Oliver is the next target for Peter Brock in the 05 Falcon. Jimmy Richards still the race leader.
Hugs a tight line when he's in the turn and uses all the road coming out. Now he gets Mike Oliver. Plunges down on the inside, side by side as they come off turn number 4 and down the straight. We now have a Ford 1-2.
There was a red Commodore that kicked up a lot of grass and dirt over on turn number 2 when it got loose. And I think this is probably for a clean-up on turn number 2. Pace car about ready to pull back to the pit area. Peter Brock forming up behind Jimmy Richards at this stage. Not really acquainted that well with the NASCAR or Auscar racing rules because he's going to try and start on the outside of Richards. They're coming off turn number 4 now, down for the restart, and it will be Jimmy Richards with Peter Brock right behind him. They'll sprint away to the lead. Bradley Jones goes down a lap, and then making a move is Mike Oliver down the outside of Peter Brock as they head into turn number 1. Richards starting to scream away from the rest of the pack at this stage. Peter Brock running second. And now we'll get the inside run on the lap car. Brad Jones, car number 8. Oliver is the next one through, and Phil Brock coming down the outside very quickly indeed. So Peter Brock into a very clear second at this stage. And Oliver with it all to do as Bradley Jones settles into the racing line in that green Commodore. He's down a lap, but you'd never know it. He's giving Oliver quite a bit of stick. And 2 in the pits, including Kim Jane, car number 7, with motor problems. Here's the real race action as we pick them up coming down the tri-oval. Race leader is Jimmy Richards. Tailgate him is Peter Brock. And Brock now looking for a shot down the inside and gives him the moment of truth. Brock and Richards are side by side as they go through turn number 1. Mike Oliver now in the Commodore comes up and is going to make it a 3-way split for the lead as they work the back straight. Side by side, Richards just marginally in front, and Brock trying to edge down to the inside. Oliver on the outside. What a race. Peter Brock taking the lead away from Jimmy Richards as they come off turn 4. Fans standing here in the grandstands and cheering for more as Brocky takes the lead in his first Auscar race. These 2 guys are just so involved in their own little argument at the moment. Just look how close the racing is. Coming through the tri-oval, and Jimmy Richards comes fighting back on the inside of Peter Brock. The 2 of them go side by side down into turn number 1, and it'll be Richards this time who takes the lead back again. Mike Oliver is there to put a lot more pressure on Peter Brock as they come off turn 2. He's sitting in the draft as the 3 of them work the back straight.
By the halfway mark, the Richards-Brock dust-up was highly entertaining. Join us later in the show for part 2 of the Goodyear Auscar 200.
Launch a rear guard action.
Auscar 200, and on the outside it's Oliver. Oliver now sweeps down into turn number 1. Behind him is Smith, then Richards to 3rd. Behind him is De Jersey. There's Brad Jones in the green car moving through the field. So Mike Oliver, car number 38, gets the thing really mobile down the back straight and pulls out about 3 or 4 car lengths now from Graham Smith, who's put in a fine performance today, but he's going to have to work hard because Jim Richards is getting very, very close. As far as Richards is concerned, he's just going for it. He's probably got no more of an idea about what's going on with who's where than we have. So Richards now on the inside and goes beneath Graham Smith. And so it's Oliver leading from Jim Richards, then Smith, and then De Jersey. Oh, Philip Brock still with problems. It's been a bad day for him after a good start. What a disappointment. Richards now making a move on Mike Oliver as they go down the back straight to turn number 3. Richards darts for the inside, squeezes through. The Holden gets a little bit sideways, and Jimmy Richards goes through to the lead in the BS Stillwell Ford entry. Great driving from the dual Australian touring car champion. Oliver comes back, gets in the slipstream of the Ford, goes down low now as they head to turn number 1. He's taking the shorter line, and now Oliver answers back the best way he can, and the yellow flag is out.
Looks like a tyre change coming up for Oliver. They'll have about 15 laps of racing to go to the checkered flag. Field passes by now. That really has blown Oliver's chance. Jimmy Richards sits at the front of the field in the Stillwell Ford, looking fairly safe at this stage for his second Auscar victory here at Calder Park.
The pace car pulls down. Oliver in the pits. Richards on the outside. De Jersey behind him. Then Marshall J. Brewer. And Richards goes back to racing in fine style and takes control. Jim Richards down the front straight towards turn number 1 with a pretty healthy lead. So Richards then followed by Melrose. And Rose really doing a good job in the carburetor services entry. He had a lot of problems here last time in car number 44. It wasn't a happy meeting for him, and I know that he's had some engine problems in the days leading up to this race, so he really needs a good result. And at the moment, he's in second, although there's still some question over who is where in this race.
And Melrose, car number 44, being given the white flag.
It was interesting then that it was Rose who was shown quite distinctively this white flag and not Jim Richards.
Yes. There's Jimmy Richards, but back behind him is Melrose. Richards may have got shuffled out in that earlier yellow flag incident. Last corner is coming up now as they sweep off turn number 4. Melrose sitting behind Jimmy Richards. There's Richards going through. The next car will pick up the checkered flag.
Confused? Then so are we. Argument continues as to who was where in the race.
But the way the officials are calling it was Melrose first, Graham Smith second, Marshall J. Brewer third, Tony Cavic fourth, with Richards actually 1 lap down in fifth.
I honestly thought that the Falcons were out there and they were the cars to beat. Then you look in the pits, they're in the pits. Well, you know, when you're out there, that means they're a lap down, so, you know, they've got to catch you. You don't have to catch them.
Well, I'm just as confused. I know we won the race. We never lost a lap. Our pit stop was quick. We formed up the right way. For some reason, they reckon we were a lap behind. Then that's garbage.